ultimately I
Mm.
wanted to help people. I knew that was my big thing. I want to help people in general. I want to have a purpose that serves society in some capacity. I thought medicine was going to be it. Then I saw my friends absolutely getting destroyed by the like organic chemistry classes and math classes and things like that. And so I said, you know what, Dave, I don't want any part of that. And so I said, I'll be a
Wait a
clinical
minute.
psychologist.
You were taught that hard work was a good thing, and you're like, I'm out of here. That's too hard.
Listen, that was too hard. That was too hard. And let me be honest with you. Like the real thing that scared me, that did it for me the most. I would, and this is, I've never said this on a podcast, but it is 100% true. It was not only the fact that I saw these courses destroying my friends, but I was like afraid of dead bodies. I was necrophobic, and I knew
Okay.
you had to work on cadavers. I was like, this is too gross. Like
Yeah, that's a
I don't
big
want that.
obstacle if you're going into medicine.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But I will say my
Okay.
parents are still proud. There is a Dr. Christian. I married her. So there is a doctor in the family. It's just
Yeah, but
not
you
me.
get Esquire. You get Esquire. That's pretty
Yes, that's
nice.
that's not bad. That's not
Yeah.
bad. So yeah, when I was in school, I realized, well, hey, if I help people through psychology, and I was going down this route, I could, if I become a psychologist, I could help only one person at a time, and that limits my ability to
Mm.
help. If I want to help people at scale, I should do something bigger. So that's when I got interested in politics. So I could still keep my my psychology degree, but then I would add something on top of it. So that's what drew me to the dual degree between law and public policy. But as I started to learn more about policy and politics in particular and what it would take, I knew one thing for sure. I did not want to be a politician. So I was in law school and getting my master's, and I'm like, what am I doing here? This is not what
Mm.
I want to do. And then that's when I found negotiation, and that took me on that path.
Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah, I grew up with a father who's a radio talk show host, and I learned from that. I don't want anything to do with politics.
Yep.
So
Yes.
we arrived at that at different pathways.
Definitely. Yeah, and it's not just for me too, because I know for my own mental health and sanity, I don't want to do that. But then also when I think
Yes.
about my family, I have a young family, and I just see how like the struggles of political families is just not worth the cost for me.
Yeah, I completely identify with that, the mental health aspect of it as well. Okay, so that's a lot of school, and you said that you were leaning entrepreneurial. So the question that comes to my mind is, you're in school. At what point did you actually start putting your shingle on the side of a building and say, I'm going to start helping people? Was that prior to graduation, or was it something that you did concurrently with your education?
It was, I realized that I was starting to get that entrepreneurial bug. I think once that's in you, I don't think it ever goes away fully.
Mm.
And I didn't know exactly what it was going to be, but I did know one thing. For me, I was a people pleaser when I was younger. I think you always have that in you to a certain extent. But you learn to keep it in check. So self advocacy, having difficult conversations, that's something that I really struggled with. And then it wasn't until I got to law school that I discovered negotiation, where I learned it was a skill, not a talent. I could actually get better at it.
Mm.
And so we had these negotiation competitions at school, and my partner and I, we won the negotiation competition at the law school. That allowed us to represent the school at the American Bar Association regional competition in Canada, and we won that event. And then we made it to the semifinals of the national competition in New Orleans. And so I was hooked. And so I was saying to myself, I know that I want to negotiate myself, because every time I do it, there's a point of pride because I'm overcoming a massive fear that I had before. But even more so than that, I wanted to be able to share this revelation with other people, because I knew there were other people who didn't know how to advocate for themselves and have difficult conversations. So I knew that was something I wanted to do. I didn't know how to do it. And so I figured, like, after trying to figure out how to incorporate that, and realizing that there wasn't really anything out there for me at the time for me to have this outlet, I decided I had to build it myself. But that was a few years down the road. I didn't know how I was going to get there when I was in school.
There are a couple things I really like about that part of your story. Is number one, you were overcoming a fear that you had. And because you had to overcome that obstacle, I think that made you more aware and more sensitive to how difficult it is for a lot of people to negotiate.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of the books that are out there, they're written by people who were generally pretty good at this, right? They have some kind of background that makes them good at this. It was natural. They didn't have to overcome that fear. And so I think that's something that draws a lot of people to my content because it's negotiation for people who don't identify as negotiators. So of course, the people who are like in procurement and sales, we do negotiation trainings with them with our company for sure. But there's going to be a massive portion of the population who has to first overcome those mental and emotional barriers and then have the conversation. So I have content that addresses that. And so I think that's one of the things that led to the success that I'm having today.
I love doing these interviews because I always discover something that I have in common with who I'm talking to that I was not aware of before. And right here is a big one because I'm diagnosed as freaking off the charts ADHD. And so for me, getting organized and getting productive was me dealing with something that most experts in productivity don't do well. And that makes my material accessible to other people. And here I'm hearing you say exactly the same thing with negotiation. And I'll just insert my experience with it. What drew me to you when I first was exposed to you through LinkedIn Learning, where I have courses as well. I watched what you were delivering. I thought, my gosh, this guy is taking something that I'm afraid of and I have a hard time with, and he's making it so easy and so relaxed and so approachable. And I think now I understand why, because it came from that place of this was hard for me, but I figured it out.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think one of the things that is growing in popularity, and I appreciate seeing it, is like the vulnerable thought leader, where we're
Mm,
saying, hey, listen, I'm not perfect. I still make mistakes to this day. But it's about being willing to kind of grow in public and share that. Because I think if we come off as too perfect, then it doesn't seem real. It's like, well, yeah, it's easy for Kwame to say that. He's Kwame. Nope. Kwame's just like me. We both have those same struggles. So I'll make mistakes,
yes.
he'll make mistakes, and we'll all get through it together.
If you liked this video and want to listen to the full episode, go to your favorite podcast app and subscribe to the Dave Crenshaw Success Project. You can also find all the full episodes at successproject.show.